How many lovers have you made today? Chapter 7, Part 2. Twilight? Anon snaps his fingers to catch her attention. You ready?
Oh!
She shakes her head some.
Yes.
This is great, having to deal with her as well as himself. He wonders how long that'll last until he calls it quits. Drawing in a long breath, he reminds himself what this is for. Just a little while longer, and he'll work this out. Before the three of them are ready to leave, the door to the library slams open. Twilight, I found... Spike stops short as he notices the company. Oh, sorry to interrupt. Twilight walks past Anon and up to Spike.
No worries. What has you so excited?
Spike shakes his head as he faces Twilight. I found when the princess was born. Anon's head snaps to the drake. She told him. A hoof rests on his knee and Anon finds Blossom looking up at him. This is annoying, but he'll have to accept it. He keeps his silence.
Really?
Twilight, squeeing, pulls Spike into an embrace, twirling with him before setting him down.
This is great news! So when is it?
I wrote it down. He hands the parchment to Twilight.
Great.
Twilight's eyes twinkle as she hastily grabs the note and looks it over. However, her smile falters as she looks over the date.
Which princess?
Celestia. Anon notices the mood shift from Twilight. Is something the matter?
It's 1 week from today.
She stutters, facing the floor. Twilight, doesn't the date seem familiar to you? Spike asks. She nods.
It's the day of the summer sun celebration, when Celestia banished Luna.
What? Anon walks beside Twilight and takes the parchment from her and confirms the date.
I'm sure of it. It was the day when she banished Luna, and the same day I brought her back.
Well, that doesn't matter. Anon declares, catching everyone's attention. Now I want you all to keep this to yourselves. I have special plans for this, so it needs to be kept a secret. Spike gives a salute. You can count on me. Well, I have no choice. Anon mutters under his breath. Anon pockets the note, but then notices something. What about Luna's birthday? Well, it said hers was 2 months before Celestia's. I'll be sure to get the date later. Alright, that makes planning easier. Anon turns his attention to Twilight. So, Twilight, we have a prior arrangement, and we're about to be late. Twilight's eyes widen as she nods rapidly. She leans in to kiss Spike on the forehead.
Thank you, Spike, but we've gotta go.
Without another word, Twilight gallops out of the room. Anon just shakes his head as Blossom and him follow after her. Spike is left there, confused for a moment. Why were they dressed up? Also, who was that bat pony? His thoughts leave him as a yawn draws his attention. Well, he'll ask Twilight about that stuff later. For now, he's earned some rest.
This is it.
Twilight looks over to Anon as he faces forward.
Are you sure about this?
That makes him scoff. Am I sure about this? That's my line.
To be honest, I'm not sure about anything.
Then you're ready. Anon opens the door and pushes her inside. Anon is about to follow after her, but feels a hoof rest on his leg to stop him.
I'll be here waiting.
Blossom says.
I don't do crowds.
This shouldn't take long. Anon remarks. Twilight can already feel her heart pounding as she notices all the ponies looking her way from the entrance. She chuckles nervously, but finds their gaze turning to the creature behind her. Well, she shouldn't be surprised Anon still draws a crowd. Scanning the room, she finds Cadence and Shining are already at the table she reserved and waits. Since it's seated further in the back, they haven't noticed her yet. She takes a few breaths to calm herself, before casting a brief glance behind her to make sure Anon is there. He looks down at her with a raised brow, then gestures his head towards the table.
I know.
She whispers.
Just give me a moment.
The time has passed. Anon pushes her forward with his foot. It's strange, but for the first time in a while, Twilight feels frustrated by Anon's pushiness. Remarkable how that calms her down and makes it seem as if they're just here to enjoy breakfast.
Okay!
She grunts, making her way to the table. As they make their approach, Shining and Cadence are whispering to one another. Though once Twilight is a few hoofs from them, they turn to face her. Their eyes meet, but then instantly snap to Anon, who's standing just behind Twilight. Neither of them can comprehend what they're looking at right now, as they try and piece together a reasoning why they'd be together. Saying this, Twilight is quick to react.
I invited you both to talk about something, and I couldn't do it alone. So Anon's here for his reasons. Don't worry, I didn't pony nap him. That's nice.
Cadence forces out. This is not something she expected when Twilight invited her to breakfast.
Please, take a seat.
Anon and Twilight take their seats across from Shining and Cadence. There's an awkwardness in the air and no one is saying anything. This is starting to aggravate Anon as he jabs his elbow into Twilight's side.
Ow!
She rubs her side, looking at him annoyed.
Yes, I get it.
She sighs in frustration. Twilight grits her teeth as she tries to find the will to say what's bothering her. Yet she can't. With them so close, she feels everything start to shut down. Catching her internal struggle, Anon knows he needs to make the first move. Otherwise, she's going to run away from this problem. That makes him chuckle on the inside. He's got a lot of experience with that. Shining, you're an asshole. Anon states out loud. Cadence's eyes widen at hearing Anon say that, while Shining narrows his at him. What was that? He asks. You may be friends with the princess, but I'm still captain of the guard. Well, Captain, you're an asshole. He lets that hang in the air for a moment. However, allow me to go into depth. You two have been keeping a rather big piece of news from Twilight, and now she feels betrayed. I'd understand if this was something that happened over a few months ago, but we're talking 2 years. How do you think that makes her feel? Anon grunts. He can't believe he's defending something he hates, and what's worse is that he believes every word he's saying. Like, shit, that's how. She's too afraid to tell you how much it hurt her because she thinks you're going to throw her away, to be forgotten. Twilight's eyes are glued to Anon as they start to glisten.
How does he know this?
Is she that readable to him? Or is this something he has faced on his own? So, here I am. I'm willing to put aside the past to help her with what she's asked of me. Cadence can feel it. It's faint, but there's love in his words. Even behind all the hate and pain, she can feel the inkling of love there. She's unsure if it's for Twilight or perhaps another reason entirely, but she knows that deep down what he's saying is true to his heart. This must be what her aunt sees in him. Where he once was the source of Twilight's misery, he is now a foundation for her to rebuild her life. Shining can't believe how blunt he's being. Not to mention that he's protecting his sister, the pony that caused him so much pain. Though what he says must be true, as Twilight continues to face Anon with a look of awe, her gaze unmoving. This is almost comical. The creature she hurts is now more a part of her life than Shining has been in years. It's like the whole world is playing a joke on him, to show him how much he's failed as her brother. Tell him how you feel, Anon says, looking at Twilight. Don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. She allows what he's saying to sink in for a moment before clearing her tears and nodding a few times to psych herself up. Once she feels ready, she faces her brother.
2 years, I didn't get a single letter. 2 years, neither of you said a word. This entire time, I was ignored. Cadence and I have been friends since I was a filly. And to hear that you two are thinking about getting married, it's agonizing.
Twilight takes a breath to steady herself. This is tough for her, as she looks down to see her hopes tremble.
I think it's accurate for me to say that we've grown apart. And it has nothing to do with what happened between Anon and me.
Twilight's heart winces at her next words.
I don't know why you've done this, but if you're just pretending to care, don't. I have better things I can do with my time.
There's some silence before Shining speaks up. I guess I felt inferior to you.
What?
Twilight looks confused. Twilight, I joined the guard because I wanted to protect everyone, and yet in the end, it was you and your friends who protected Equestria time and time again. I trained for years, pushing myself farther than I ever thought possible, in the hopes that I would be given a chance to rescue others. However, you were handed it, and that's why I'm upset with you. Born so smart and strong, Yet because of how you were trained, it was as if someone handed a filly the power to control the sun. Shining has no idea if he should be saying this, but it's something that's been bothering him for a while now. I couldn't protect you. Not even from yourself. My training was for nothing, and I failed in my job. Why did I even become a guard if in the end it was my little sister that was going to save the world? I can't protect you. And I can't stop you either. Cadence places her hoof on Shining's.
That's enough.
Anon doesn't want to be here, but before the thought of leaving comes, a hoof rests on his leg and squeezes slightly. Twilight is trembling as she continues to face her brother despite her body telling her to run. The only thing keeping her anchored here is Anon.
I can't say I understand what you feel, Shining.
Twilight responds after a moment.
For me, you've always been strong and kind. It's not something I envy, but something I treasure. You'll always be my big brother. And that won't change because I'm stronger than you. You're right, though. I've abused magic for a long time now, and only recently have seen how I've taken it for granted.
Twilight lets out a sigh.
I'm happy you and Cadence are together. I know Cadence is a good mare, and you a good stallion. I just wish I knew you like when we were kids.
Twilight rises from her seat.
I believe we can't be around one another right now. So this is goodbye, Shining. I hope one day I'll return and give you an answer that will make this all better. But right now I have nothing. I'm sorry to be so selfish to ask this of you, but I think we both could use the space. Twilight, you don't...
Shining puts a hoof on Cadence's shoulder to stop her, never turning away from his sister. If that's what you want, he answers. You probably won't believe me, but I love you, Twilight. Twilight gives Shining a small smile.
Don't be silly. I know you do.
Twilight turns to Anon.
Let's go.
As Twilight walks away, Anon stays seated for a moment as he faces Shining and Cadence. You're probably wondering why I'm here, but that's between Twilight and I. However, should the sisters find out about this, that will quickly change, so keep this to yourselves.
I don't need to know why.
Cadence asserts.
I know you're doing it for a good reason.
Anon gives her a curious look. He decides to ignore that and follow after Twilight. This entire situation isn't something he'll stick around voluntarily. Shining and Cadence are left alone as silence fills the air. They can only watch Anon and Twilight walk side by side as they leave the restaurant. There's so much they want to ask, but for now, they hold their tongues. That's gotta be so damn rough, having that simmer in your mind for the whole morning, no less. Anywho, let's get on to our more cheerful donators. Top donators are 630, BadassWaffle, Onlyonething, Ceru, Orion, IronSky, and Jessie Smith. Matchback 109, JockTF, Darkside Raiden, Narwhals, Black Moon, our Pastel Skies, also Rollins, Stu, Hex, Sword Brother, Mordred, Omicron, Lyrae, Runetype 9852, Will, Chris, Twinkie, Rascal, Shadowman, Luigi 88, Chancellor Prest, Big Smoke 369, Bobcat GG of Murder Princess, and many more amazing people. Thank you all so much for watching this video and live life to the fullest.